the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yeah, we wept when we remembered Zion. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yeah, we wept when we remembered Zion. Carried us away in captivity.
I will never be anything but honest with you. And so, in the interests of maintaining that honesty, I never really, I don't get the Boney M thing. I don't know. Like, do you get the Boney M thing? But it was on this day in 1978. People were getting the Boney M thing. I don't think you should take that the wrong way or anything. But on this day in 1978, Boney M were at number one. A number one hit with Rivers of Babylon. That single stayed at the top of the charts for 5 weeks. 5 weeks in 1978 because we had nothing better to listen to than Rivers of Babylon by Boney M. May the 13th, 1978, ascending to the top of the UK singles charts. Like I said, don't know. Never really got the Boney M thing. All I think about when I hear people talk about Boney M is Christmas music, and Christmas music that I don't particularly care for. But maybe Boney M is your thing, and that's fine. We play a little song every day to start our show. It's like spinning the wheel of number one hits. If it's got some notable mention on this day in music history, we'll play it at the beginning of the show. Rivers of Babylon. Speaking of Christmas, I know. Why do I even want to talk about Christmas on May the 13th when the weather is finally getting warmer? But Boney M makes me think of Christmas music. And that reminds me of the walk we took last evening with Rosie, the pandemic pup. And I just happened to notice, and I'm not trying to, I won't even tell you the streets or anything like that. I'm not trying to shame my neighbors in any way. But as we were walking and enjoying the nice spring evening, yesterday was the first day. I was yesterday days old when I put on shorts for the first time this year. It's about time I dress like that. I enjoy the warm weather. And there we are, strolling along with Rosie the pandemic pup, and I noticed that a house across the street still has its Christmas lights up. Strung very nicely. Like, that's fine. And obviously not illuminated. It was like 6:45 p.m. It's still nice and bright. But it just made me think, like, it's May. Aren't we supposed to have at some point between the end of the Christmas season and now taken them down? I would say this, because I've become a fan lately of leaving one's Christmas lights or holiday lights or winter lights, call them what you want. I like them staying up longer because it's dark in the wintertime. And so to have something nicer to look at while you're out walking Rosie the pandemic pup, it's not such a bad thing. It lights up the night. So how about we just say, I don't know, like when we change the clocks. When we change the clocks and we get more daylight into the evening hours, maybe that's when the Christmas lights should come down. And after I noticed one house, I noticed like 6 or 7 along the same street. I figure one of those neighbors at some point is going to decide they've got to take down the Christmas lights. Like, it's time. Doesn't matter how nicely they're strung. This is the contract we sign, right? We'll climb the ladder to hang them. We'll climb the ladder again to take them down. And we'll do it all over again in November-ish, right? That's how it works. None of us likes doing it. Some people hire it out. But that's what we do. We put them up, we take them down. We put them up, we take them down. It's kind of the cost of living in a home. Or maybe you string them on your apartment balcony. Whatever the case is, it seems to me that we're getting a little long in the tooth for the Christmas light time. It's time to take them off the eaves. We're into daylight saving time now. It's beautiful, well into the evening.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
All right, let's get to your Farwell Show 5 for this Tuesday morning. Number 1, Prime Minister Mark Carney set to name his new cabinet this morning. The swearing-in ceremony to take place at Rideau Hall at 10:30 a.m. The new cabinet expected to be a slimmed-down front bench meant to signal a more business-minded approach to government. Number 2, a new Leger poll suggests most Canadians don't want the country to end up with a two-party system. Nearly half of the 1,600 Canadians surveyed online earlier this month say a two-party system would not be a good thing for Canada, while 30% say they don't know. It also suggests that people in Ontario and Alberta are the most open to a two-party system. I'm kind of one of those Ontarians who's open to a two-party system. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, Honda Canada postponing a $15 billion electric vehicle investment project in Ontario, including a proposed EV battery plant and retooled vehicle assembly facility in Alliston. Couple of things about this. One, of course, the provincial dollars that were to be invested along with Honda Canada's investments to create these jobs in Alliston, Ontario, et cetera. But here's the other one. We all know what the rumors are in Wilmot Township, right? Why that 700 plus acres of land is being assembled for future industrial growth and development. The rumors out there that this will be connected to the electric vehicle industry, maybe a battery plant. Well, what does this mean for the Wilmot Land Assembly? Asking for a friend. Maybe you're that friend I'm asking for. It just makes me curious. Number 4 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, the Athletes of the Year nominations are out here in the region. I mentioned these on the show yesterday, but worth mentioning again. The nominees include Mark Scheifele in hockey, Tyler Rourke in cycling, Ben Flanagan in athletics, Dane Smith lacrosse, Eric Peters archery, Katie Cosgriff Paralympic swimming, and Cole McCormick in water skiing. Those are your Athlete of the Year nominees in Waterloo Region. And number 5 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, more than 250 people attended Cambridge Moves for Mental Health this past weekend. We had talked about it on the show. And those 250 people helped to raise more than $19,000 for Porchlight Counseling and Addiction Services. And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Tuesday morning. I'm feeling like I've got a bit of a problem. I don't know if it's a problem. I'm struggling with something, though. And maybe you can help out. Maybe I'm way off base. I don't feel like I am, but you know that I'm basically as cheap as the day is long, right? I don't like to spend the money. I'll try to find a bargain wherever I can. But I'm starting to worry that if we take that approach too much, we're not going to have nice things. This is why we can't have nice things. And I think we should have some nice things, shouldn't we? So what's worth spending money on? $20 million in Waterloo, $5 million in Cambridge, $2 million in Kitchener, just so we can have nice things? I think it's worth it. What about you? We'll talk about it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I've been thinking about this since yesterday when we talked on the show about the renovation that's happening this summer at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. Most of it to support the hockey club, player facilities, etc., making it a more attractive place for players to play and stay after they're drafted by the Kitchener Rangers, etc. We know that it's getting increasingly competitive when it comes to having players compete for your team in your city. So we talked about that, and along with it was a $2 million investment that the city was being asked to piggyback on these renovations to complete. So altogether, it's about a $4.5 million job, but $2 million of it is municipal taxpayer dollars to create a larger restaurant and event space inside the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. And we can understand what this will support in terms of events outside of hockey. The building gets used, the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium, for well over 100 nights a year, getting pretty close to almost half of the nights of the 365 in the year, where you've got various events going on, concerts, basketball games, home shows, you name it. And this space could well be attractive to people to rent out, etc. So for $2 million city dollars, you're thinking that's not bad value, right? You put that investment in and it pays back. Now, I come at this obviously with a bias. I love sports. I love the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. Like many of you, I probably feel an almost emotional connection to it. At the same time, I'm not the kind of person that really likes to spend a lot of money. If we can find ways to not spend the money, I'm pretty happy with that. So the argument could be, or would be, you know what? Maybe the audit's just fine as it is. By the way, the city is going to move forward with that renovation on the restaurant and the event space, which I think is a good investment. And I'm thinking about this since yesterday and wondering how people generally feel about it, because again, I've kind of got an inherent bias here because I love the building so much and I love attending the events that go on there, but not everybody can. And maybe they think the $2 million is better invested in public transit or parks near their house. I don't know. But wouldn't you know, just this morning in my morning paper, I'm reading about $5 million that the city of Cambridge is considering spending to keep its arenas in good repair. They also double as community centers. And how about in the city of Waterloo, where the renovation at Albert McCormick is going to be upwards of $20 million. That's a lot of municipal dollars to be spent on upgrades at an arena and a community center. But higher level here, I'm thinking we have to have these conversations. And quite frankly, I think we have to make investments like this, because if we just clutch the purse strings so tightly so as to never create these nicer, more modern, more attractive and appealing spaces, we become a pretty damn boring place to be, don't we? And I take this all the way back to the original conversations around the construction of the Memorial Auditorium in Kitchener. It opened in 1951, but I only recently learned that the conversations to build that arena go as far back as the 1930s. And much like you'd expect today, when the city is considering undertaking a project of that magnitude, back in 1938, the estimated price tag was $450,000. And as you might expect, there were people in the community who said, heck no, we're not going to pay that out of our taxes. Who would pay $450,000 for a hockey arena? It turned out to cost $1 million, by the way, so more than double the estimate. Where have we heard that before? But just imagine if those who said no, we shouldn't pay for this out of our municipal dollars, won. And their voices were convincing enough to never have seen the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium built. Where would we be as a community today without a facility like that? A facility that not only houses the local hockey team, but has room for home shows and RV shows and food and wine shows. And the list just goes on, right? It is the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium, a central location in this community for all manner of events. It's going to host a concert this summer, et cetera, et cetera. If we didn't have it, I kind of shudder to think of where we're at as a community, what we attract in terms of, entertainment, enjoyment, things like that. So, yeah, am I on board with another $2 million for the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium? Heck yes. In the grand scheme of things, that's a drop in the bucket. What about $20 million, though, in Waterloo at the Albert McCormick Arena and Rec Center? Yes, we need to have nice spaces. Otherwise, we become, as I said, a very boring space. Maybe you see it differently and you want to save money wherever we can, and there are higher priorities that you identify. I'd be happy to hear what they are, but I just think that sometimes if all we focus on is the price tag, we miss out on the opportunity to build bold buildings, to build great spaces in our cities. And if we're not building those great spaces, I don't think we're much of a great city at all. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. The moment we begin the show every morning at 9, our phone lines are open to you. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. We love the interaction. We love the conversation. It's better if it's a two-way conversation. Joe is on the phone with us. Good morning, Joe.
Morning, Mike. Listen, I'm pretty stoked about the proposed changes to the odds, especially the restaurant. I mean, if it's done right, it could be a cash cow. And you just can't get into strikers unless you call like 2 weeks in advance. And it'd be nice if you had like out-of-town guests. You could take them to a nice little restaurant inside the venue and say, hey, check out our Kitchener Memorial Lot. Isn't this cool? So, I'm really stoked about the changes. And I'm really looking forward to the restaurant. We've been saying for years that this is what they need to do. So, cool. Go for it, place. Hit it out of the park.
All right, Joe. I appreciate the call. I hope that maybe they work into the menu some local delicacies, right? Like pig's tails. We talked about that on the show maybe a week or two ago, and how they're a pretty specific Waterloo County thing. So, yeah, let's get some schnitzels and some pigtails and some other things on the menu at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium to celebrate the local fare that's popular. And Joe's right. The number of times I hear from people, where's the best place to eat if I'm coming in for a game? Strikers is an awesome spot, the closest spot nearby. It's also a smaller spot, and it fills up really quickly. As Joe says, if you want to get your spot there, well, you're going to have to make some plans accordingly. So if you have another space that you can not only show off what the city has to offer in terms of restaurant options, but also the facility itself, because it's contained within. And Joe says, cash cow. The report that Kitchener Council approved last night suggests that you'll get your money back on this in no more than 7 years. I still want to know then after that, though, if this becomes a revenue generator, where's the revenue going to go? That's an important question in all of this, I think. All right, an update from the 570 News Center is coming up. And then it's a major construction zone in Kitchener, but it's doing more than just causing a nuisance for drivers. We'll talk about it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Have you been impacted by the construction zone at Westmount and Ottawa in Kitchener? I happened to be out that way on the weekend as I was Farwell for hiring myself around town. Remember yesterday I talked on the show about the challenges that are presented to one who decides to drive in this community these days. Not the least of which is light rail transit tracks and all kinds of signs all over every ding-dang place in the downtown areas, it seems. But yes, construction, because we know in Canada we have two seasons officially, hockey season and construction season. And with the Kitchener Rangers season over, we have moved into construction season here in the region. And that is a big obstacle at Westmount and Ottawa. Major intersection under significant construction. Detours abound. But it's not just a nuisance for people trying to drive through the area. Amanda Walker, who is a resident of Kitchener in the area, joins the program to shed a little more light on that. Amanda, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Well, I'm doing all right, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for having me on to discuss this important matter.
Well, I'm glad you raised it so that we could have a discussion about it, because it's, I guess, what we might call the law of unintended consequences. Yes, the work has to get done at Ottawa and Westmount, but what impact is this having in your neighborhood, particularly around Trillium Public School?
So I'm involved with the school a lot, and we've noticed a significant increase with traffic and safety risks out front of our school. So our school, it the traffic on Laurentian is becoming backed up pretty much from the four-way stop right through to the next light that would be at Westmount. And it's just reached a point now where everybody is taking this kind of shortcut and not following the detour. And traffic is at a stop, backed up. And when we have the larger motorized vehicles coming through, it's actually making it become a one-way at pickup and drop-off times, which is also making the traffic back up even further. And it's putting our students at risk. So it's been a very big challenge since April 22nd. I've been on this journey contacting everybody that I can, and it's actually quite appalling the support and the answer, or I should say the lack of support that I've gotten back from everybody that's involved with this.
It's interesting that you mentioned this quote-unquote shortcut, Amanda, because as I said at the outset, I was actually in this construction zone on the weekend, and when I followed the detour, it took me down to Block Line Road, right? Or Bleams, Block Line. Anyway, and so I wasn't on Laurentian Drive at all. So people have decided they've got a different way, I suppose, to get around the construction.
That is correct. So the actual detour is supposed to be from Strasbourg to Block Line and then to Westmount. And what people are actually doing is they are coming up Howland to Laurentian Drive and cutting across to Westmount. So they're saving maybe about 2 minutes of driving and putting everybody at risk in doing so.
I always get my Block Line and my Bleams mixed up. That's a shame on me for that. But yes, that's exactly what I did. I got to the corner of Ottawa and Strasbourg. I took Strasbourg over to Block Line to Westmount, and then back onto Ottawa, and away I went. So what you talked about, your calls kind of falling on deaf ears. What actions have you taken in order to try to get something done about this, Amanda?
Absolutely. So I started with contacting bylaw to see whether they could do anything in regards to the street. They directed me that the only thing that they can do is parking tickets for being parked where they shouldn't be. Advised me to contact the non-emergency police, which I did. So at first I spoke with Patrol, and Patrol advised me to go online and do an ongoing report, and in that I discussed that the construction was going to be ongoing right through until the school year ends. And then we were lucky and we got one patrol that came out, put their lights on. We were super thrilled. We went and discussed the issues, and it slowed the traffic. It didn't change the traffic flow, but it slowed the traffic flow. Our school zone is a 30-kilometer, and these people are speeding through, so that made a huge impact. And then a week went by and nobody else came out. So I contacted again, and I said I thought that this was supposed to be a daily thing. I put the timings in for our drop-off and our pickup. Why is nobody coming out? And I was told that patrol will only come out if they are in the area and only if there isn't another call that is more important than this. And to me, it was kind of shocking. I can understand, other things are going to be more important, but what is more important than the safety of children? So they then directed me to the traffic department and escalated it to more of a traffic control issue versus a patrol issue. And it has now been a week and a half without an officer out to our school to support, which is very saddening to me that we're at the low end, I guess, and there's nothing really more that they can do. They have agreed that they will send out somebody if they can.
So from bylaw to non-emergency police lines, is there anything else? What about a city councillor in hopes of getting a crossing guard? What about closing down Howland or something? I don't know. Any other options?
I have, so yes. So we also have been in touch with the City of Kitchener, so that it's the Region of Waterloo's project. I'll get to that in just a moment. But the City of Kitchener, the school board has requested a crossing guard, and we have direct message from the City of Kitchener that they are currently short-staffed and are unable to provide us a crossing guard. The region of Waterloo, who is involved with this, I have spoken directly with the head person in charge of this site. I contacted him originally 8 days ago and discussed the matter, and I just got a response back yesterday when I reached out to him saying, hey, what's going on? There's been no update. He has directed that he has not heard an update from transportation through the region of Waterloo, and that when he gets an update, he will contact me. So he's had 8 days to try and sort something out and has yet to hear anything back.
And that's the project manager on the construction project?
That is the region of Waterloo project manager, Jason, yeah.
Gotcha, okay. Amanda, on a scale of 1 to pulling your hair out, how would you describe your level of frustration?
Oh, beyond. Beyond pulling my hair out. I'm officially bald. It hasn't even, I still have contacted more people. So we have a lot of city buses that are coming through. We have student transportation buses that are coming through, and I've actually contacted, wait till you hear this, I actually contacted Student Transportation Services of Waterloo Region with specific bus numbers that are coming through, taking that detour, and the response that I got from them was they would see if they can adjust their route, but technically they can take the shortest route available. And when I questioned them, I said, so you don't have to abide by the detour that is set out? They said that they are allowed to take the shortest route available. And to me, I was just appalled that you would rather take time and speed things up than the safety of students and the safety of everybody around this community. I was appalled by it.
Amanda, I really appreciate your work on this and the time you've given us on the show this morning to explain it and raise the issue. And I wish you speedy growth for the return of your hair.
I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Hopefully we can get some more, notice and whatnot and get some people to kind of realize that this is an ongoing situation. And we have, a month and a half left. So let's keep this road minimal and follow the detour and keep our kids safe.
Amanda, thanks for making time for the show this morning. I appreciate it.
You have a lovely day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Amanda Walker, a concerned resident of Kitchener in and around the area of Trillium Public School. Look, to me, this should not be difficult. This should not be even a little bit difficult. Surely there are contingencies when we are undertaking a project of this magnitude that's going to have this impact on traffic. All we need to do is have within that contingency, we're really impacting a nearby school. No problem. There is built into the construction contract the contingency for a point person, a flag person, a school crossing guard, whatever the cost of that is, in order to ensure the safety of the surrounding neighborhood. That should be built into the project. And if there's an oversight and you don't see it coming into the project, when somebody like Amanda and her fellow neighbors say, we have a problem here, you have the capacity built into that contract to address the problem. This should not be difficult, in my opinion. What am I missing here? I know my trades like to listen to the show. Tell me what I'm missing on this one. But come on with your coming on. City of Kitchener, region of Waterloo. Let's amalgamate our feces and do what's right for the neighborhood here. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
It has now been a week and a half without an officer out to our school to support, which is very saddening to me that we're at the low end, I guess, and there's nothing really more that they can do. They have agreed that they will send out somebody if they can.
That's Amanda Walker, who's a resident of Kitchener in and around the area of Trillium Public School, which is a school, an elementary school, I would add, that has been impacted by nearby construction at Westmount and Ottawa. Look, the work's got to get done. I get that. And drivers get annoyed because there's a detour in place. But what's happening here is that those drivers have decided there's a little shortcut if they cut through the neighborhood that includes Trillium Public School. The detour, because I took it myself on the weekend, I just happened to be in the area, takes you from Ottawa and Strasbourg, down Strasbourg to Block Line back to Westmount, and Westmount back down to Ottawa. You're going out of your way, hence detour, right? But drivers have decided they can find this way through the neighborhood past Trillium Public School. And Amanda shared a video. If you don't laugh, you'll cry at the amount of vehicle traffic. And I'm just thinking, like, it's great that police were able to send out a patrol one day and control things a little bit, but this shouldn't be a policing problem. This should be something that I think is just built into a construction contract of this magnitude. What will the impact be on surrounding communities, and how can we mitigate those impacts? I don't see how this is difficult, but maybe I'm missing something here, and I'm always happy to hear you tell me what it is I'm missing. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Ken, good morning.
Good morning. So I would like to preface what I've got to say with I have two school-age children, one of them in kindergarten, and my area is also under construction just meters away from my home with a regional road project, and we have much more intensified traffic in our area. However, I'm also in the trades, and I do work on roads and other things and houses, and it is always a thing that when we come to do work in a certain area, everybody is upset that, we are there, we've, rerouted traffic, this or that, but everybody's houses and everybody's roads came with construction at one point in time, and we all have to put up with it just for a little bit, because sooner or later this will end and it will go back to normal. It's just part of how society works.
Ken, I totally get you. And I feel for the people. Like, I'm not in any way saying it's the fault of the workers. I'm just wondering if there can't be something built into these projects that there is, some sort of accommodation made for the impact on the neighborhood. Could we put a flag person somewhere so that vehicles can't use this quote unquote shortcut? Can we do something to ensure that the detour is followed? Things like that.
That's always a possibility, but, can we just all pay much more taxes, and should we all just add, let's say, to make sure that nobody is inconvenienced by any construction, let's just add 30 cents to fuel taxes, and then that can go to making sure that nobody is inconvenienced by certain levels of construction. Things can be done, but there would be a cost for everything, and it's not like our municipalities have an abundance of money, nor does the common person have more money to pay more taxes just to negate these issues, right?
I hear you. It's a great point, Ken. I appreciate the work you do and the call on the show today. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you.
You bet. And you know what it comes down to, really? If we bring this back, is the drivers who have decided that they don't have to follow the detour. Hey, how about this? Follow the damn detour. It's fascinating to me. It's fascinating to me. And now we've got parents concerned about their kids, and rightly so. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Couple of Daves with some interesting insight via email this morning to Mike at 570news.com. Dave number one. I would blame for this problem whomever is in charge of planning these projects at the region of Waterloo. Construction at Ottawa and Westmount regional intersection impacting a nearby school because traffic is diverting as a shortcut through a neighborhood around Trillium Public School. Dave's email goes on to say, having Ottawa Street, Trussler Road, and Bleems Road closed all at the same time in a roughly 2-kilometer radius forces traffic to find alternate routes. And Google Maps actually took me through a residential area last week to bypass the construction. Dave number two says, how is it that a parent has to contact regional police and regional staff about Trillium Public School? Where's the school board in this? The region and the school board should have figured this out before construction began, and the number one consideration should have been starting the construction after the school year comes to an end. It's another interesting point. Again, I'll go back to what I said at the very beginning of this. It shouldn't be this difficult. It really shouldn't. We're smart creatures, I think. Sometimes I question that. But generally speaking, I will default to us being smart beings. Surely we can recognize the impacts of a construction project like this at such a major intersection in the region. So what are the ripple effects of that, and how do we mitigate those effects? It's not rocket science from where I'm sitting. It sounds like a pretty poorly planned job. And please, don't blame the workers out there. They've just been given the work to do. It's not on them. We got to plan these things much better. A little more thought, a little more care into them. I'm going to get you to the 570 News Center for an update. And then sticking with schools, but in a different or through a different lens, the increasing violence we are seeing in them. What are we seeing and what are we going to do about it? This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. New research from the University of Ottawa has found that workers in Ontario's education sector live with increasing rates of violence inside their schools, thanks in large part to austerity cuts, which continue to compound what's described as a worrying trend. The report is called Running on Fumes: Violence, Austerity, and Institutional Neglect in Ontario Schools. Darby Mallory is a doctoral student and one of the authors on the study and joins the program this morning. Darby, good morning.
Good morning.
How did you put together your report? What was the methodology?
Yeah, absolutely. So this research and this report is part of a larger national project that we did. We surveyed almost 10,000 education sector workers across Canada. Last year, we put out a report about the situation in Saskatchewan. And then this year, of course, we've released a pretty comprehensive report outlining how bad violence and harassment is in Ontario schools. It's a mixed methods research project, meaning we have both statistics as well as qualitative data where we share some of the stories that education sector workers across Ontario have shared with us.
What are some of those stories that you've been hearing?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we hear a lot is about widespread violence and harassment in classrooms, a sense of normalization and minimization, meaning that for many education sector workers across Ontario, they're being told that this is now part of the job. We hear about things like biting, kicking, slapping, having water bottles thrown, smaller things like swear words being used regularly, and larger things like racial slurs and gender discrimination being deployed in the classroom.
Where does austerity fit into this, Darby? Is the belief that cuts to education funding have led us to this place?
Yeah, we really describe it as a perfect storm. Part of what our project is about highlighting is the very reality that workers are facing, but also drawing attention to the root causes of this workplace violence. It's not about bad kids. It's about a system that has been characterized by dwindling funding, a lack of resources, widespread lack of services and supports for both students and educators. So we've seen in Ontario, for example, that funding for public education has not kept up with inflation. And the result of that is that we find ourselves in this really unique breaking point where classrooms have limited resources, schools don't have access to the services and supports they need to support the students. And we really just have these students who need support and are not getting it.
What are the impacts of this increasing violence in schools and the cuts to funding for public education? I mean, I've heard anecdotally that people are either not interested at all in pursuing education as a career or they're leaving the system. What are you hearing?
Absolutely. So retention is a huge issue that we hear about a lot. Over 50% of our sample said that if they could get an equally well-paying job, they would leave the education field. Those statistics are deeply troubling in the context where we know there's already a growing retention issue in education. But the impacts ripple well beyond that. We know that education sector workers are facing personal and professional struggles, that they're going home to their kids feeling depleted, they're going home with bruises, feeling battered, and all of these kinds of things. And even more so, we know that there are impacts for students. If we send kids to school where violence is ubiquitous, considered normal, and brushed off as no big deal, there's obviously going to be an impact for all of our kids.
You mentioned earlier, Darby, that this is part of a longer-term research project, and we look at these increasing levels of violence over the past 10 years. Are there other reasons that you have determined for these increasing levels of violence besides just the austerity that we've already talked about?
Absolutely. I think the reality is that many external factors put pressures on our schools as well. We can think of, for example, increased mental health difficulties among youth. We saw, the impact of pandemic-related school closures. We have also seen heightened socioeconomic stressors for families, including housing and food insecurities, limited access to community-based healthcare and social services. We're all talking about that. And of course, the intensified prevalence of electronic devices. And these are just some of a few larger considerations that are contributing to this issue.
It certainly sounds that a report like this is a warning to our education sector here in Ontario and maybe to the Ministry of Education that attention is needed here, perhaps more funding is needed. Do you offer anything in the way of solutions to this growing problem?
It's a complicated question, but for us, the important thing is that we start with recognizing that the general public needs to know what's going on in schools. We hear a lot from parents who have no clue what's going on, and that's because violence in classrooms is becoming increasingly normalized, and kids may not be going home and talking about these experiences. They may not be telling their parents that their classroom was evacuated numerous times this week. So for us, acknowledging what's going on is important. We also talk a lot, of course, about investing in public education and finding the supports that are needed, about the necessity of a better funding model that accurately reflects the level of needs in each school, and also supporting unions and federations in their mobilization efforts.
Darby, I really appreciate the work that you've done on the report and the time you've given us on the show today. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for highlighting this issue. We appreciate it.
Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye now.
Darby Mallory is a doctoral student at the University of Ottawa and one of the authors on the study entitled Running on Fumes, Violence, Austerity and Institutional Neglect in Ontario Schools. It finds that incidents of students punching, biting, kicking and throwing things at their teachers and educational assistants has increased exponentially. Nearly half of respondents to the study, which was more than 6,000 education workers, also experienced parent-initiated harassment. And on the austerity front, overcrowded classrooms, underfunding, dwindling professional health and social services create the perfect storm for increased workplace violence. As I mentioned in that conversation, I've heard anecdotally of people being far less interested than they had been historically in getting into the education sector at all. And the burnout rate is increasing. Some teachers, after having been in it for many years, have said, I'm done. I'm not going to work like this. And as you heard Darby say, if they could find a job that paid the same outside of education, they would take it without hesitation. I've heard a lot of talk about this since the study was released yesterday or reported on yesterday, that discipline is one of the key issues here. Teachers are left relatively powerless in the front of their classrooms, educational assistants as well. There is no means available to appropriately discipline a student for bad behavior. Suspensions, etc., have gone by the wayside. And that would be the magic wand to wave to fix this problem. I don't know that it's the only thing, but I wonder what you think might help us change what is clearly a disturbing and concerning trend. How do we reduce these incidences of violence in our schools? 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Your thoughts always welcome on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
The impacts ripple well beyond that. We know that education sector workers are facing personal and professional struggles, that they're going home to their kids feeling depleted, they're going home with bruises, feeling battered, and all of these kinds of things. And even more so, we know that there are impacts for students. If we send kids to school where violence is ubiquitous, considered normal, and brushed off as no big deal, there's obviously going to be an impact for all of our kids.
Things sure have changed since I was in school. Incidences of violence increasing to alarming levels. Darby Mallory is a doctoral student and one of the authors on the study from the University of Ottawa, Running on Fumes, Violence, Austerity, and Institutional Neglect in Ontario Schools. I know many of us hear these stories from our children on a regular basis. I know many of you are involved in some capacity in the education system. What's it like out there? And more to the point, what are the solutions to this growing problem? 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. Sarah, good morning.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Okay, so I don't have any children in the system, as my children are all grown, but I have noticed, and I hear people talking about, there's no more sports. It used to be the teachers would volunteer after school to help out with the sports, but why would you volunteer when none of the kids even listen to you? So I think that maybe the school system should put into a really large sports fund, maybe hire a couple of teachers. You know, when I was kids, we used to have a hockey arena out in the schoolyard. We used to play hockey. Just kind of get sports, get that basketball team up and going. Invest a lot of money into sports and get good coaches so kids want to join the team. And I think that sports will really help with the kids in the classroom.
Sarah, I appreciate the call and the thought. You won't get an argument from me by any stretch. I remember being on the road this past hockey season with the Kitchener Rangers. We were in Kingston, and Paul Fixter, my broadcast partner, and I were sitting in the lobby of the hotel, and there were a bunch of teams, varsity teams in the city for a tournament, and we just watched these student athletes interact with one another, and there they were kind of bonding on the road, the socialization aspect of it, and the fact that they are pursuing some level of athletic excellence. I'm a big believer in the power of sport in that regard. And Sarah's story reminds me of Mr. Dankowski, who I recently read in the paper has passed. And he was at my elementary school, St. Anne's. And he was the teacher that was always out there with us as the umpire for our pickup baseball games. Imagine taking a baseball bat and a ball to a schoolyard and hitting it when there are other students around. Heaven forbid, but we did it and we enjoyed it. And Mr. Dankowski was right there making sure there was an umpire calling the balls, strikes, safes, and outs. And I remember it to this day. Johan, good morning.
Yeah, it's Johan.
Johan, hi.
I just wanted to say I'm 68 now. So I remember when I was in public school, boys liked to fight. And when there was a new kid in the schoolyard, the guy who was ruler of the schoolyard would always take him on in a fight.
What? Where did you go to school? Lord of the Flies?
No, Brighton Public School in Waterloo.
Okay.
And if the guy lost, who was the head of the making sure everybody, behaved themselves, and this new guy came on, and he used his elbows to win the fight, everybody said he cheated, but he didn't cheat. He was just trying to protect himself.
Johan, come on. I'm not that much younger than you. This can't be the thing that you did in the schoolyard at Brighton Public in Waterloo. Fought for schoolyard supremacy?
Peacemaker. I'd always go over to the guy who was new and say, "You all right?"
Okay. No, listen, I'm calling shenanigans. I'm sorry. I get the last word on this. I am calling shenanigans. Believe you me, I am not saying for 1 second that schoolyards were absent the occasional scuffle. I may have been involved in one or two because I was a hot-headed little twerp. I'm self-describing here. But again, I'm not that much younger than Johan. And I don't recall any even illusion of the ruler of said schoolyard taking on the newcomers in a fight just to determine continued supremacy. That sounds a little bit too much like the plot of a movie, and not a very good movie for what it's worth. Look, we do have to be concerned with these increasing levels of violence in our classrooms. I struggle with the notion that more funding is the answer. I think there's got to be some sort of balance here. I think the pendulum has swung too far in one direction when it comes to the permissiveness with which we allow the inmates to run the asylum, so to speak. Just think back on one of the other findings in this report from the University of Ottawa, that nearly half of respondents to their study also experienced parent-initiated harassment. What? No, my little Johnny, my little Sally would never do such a thing, right? And what do you do if you're the education worker in that classroom? Do you just throw up your hands? Give up on it? This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I need to let you in on a little something. It's not really a secret. Goodness knows. I hope you've been paying attention. I know you have, because you've been buying enough Farwell for Hire 50/50 raffle tickets to get our jackpot now just over $62,000. You heard me correctly, more than $62,000 in the jackpot, which means your take-home prize is just over $31,000. Think about that, $31,000. By the way, that's also the amount that's going to cystic fibrosis research, which is what this is all about, of course. We want to raise money for cystic fibrosis research. And yes, put some money in your pocket. And $31,000 and climbing is not a bad number to put into your pocket or into cystic fibrosis research. But I'm a little bit on the greedy side when it comes to these sorts of things. I would love to see that jackpot get even bigger, because that means more money in your pocket and more money for cystic fibrosis research. So remember that you can go to cf5050.ca, cf5050.ca, buy yourself some tickets. They start at just $10 and you're entered into the draw. Here's the thing. If you buy before Friday morning at 11 a.m., you are qualified for our early bird prize of a Kitchener Rangers VIP experience. That will include a tour of the dressing room, a one-on-one with a Ranger player, a signed Ranger jersey, and the chance to sit with me and Fixie in the broadcast booth for a game. All of that, the experience, you can't put a price on it, can be yours if you buy your tickets before Friday morning at 11. And just after we award that early bird prize at noon on Friday, we're going to award a $1,500 cash prize from the Better Business Bureau. Simple as that. Cash in your pocket, $1,500 could be yours Friday afternoon if you have your 50/50 raffle tickets before Friday morning at 11. The Kitchener Rangers VIP experience and $1,500 in cash from the Better Business Bureau. Right for you if you get a 50/50 ticket, which right now has a take-home prize of more than $31,000. I mean, come on. Could you find a better way to invest $10? cf5050.ca is the website to visit to get your tickets. cf5050.ca. Get your tickets now. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Sustainable Waterloo Region has just marked 15 years operating as an organization in our community. And last week, Thursday evening to be exact, they held their annual Evening of Recognition, a chance to recognize those organizations in our community that engage in sustainable practices and maybe, just maybe, inspire us to do a little bit of the same. Very pleased to be joined on the show this morning by Tova Davidson, who's the Executive Director at Sustainable Waterloo Region. Tova, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. And you?
Oh, I'm really good.
Glad to hear it. Still coming down off that high from the evening of recognition last Thursday.
Yeah, it is a high for sure. And I don't know, this work is a high overall. So I sort of live on a high energy level anyway.
Excellent to hear. We're joined also this morning by Jeff Whiting, who's the CEO at Air Farmers Mutual Insurance Company. Jeff, nice to have you. Good morning.
Morning, Mike. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. I find it interesting, Jeff, that you are here after having just been recognized as a Rookie of the Year at the Evening of Recognition with Sustainable Waterloo Region. But come on now, Air Farmers Mutual Insurance is no rookie in our community by any stretch of the imagination.
No, that's for sure, Mike. No, we've been around for 130 plus years, and certainly that is a sustainable organization if you want to go right to the heart of it.
Absolutely. And can we say then after 130 years, we can still teach old dogs new tricks, I guess?
Absolutely. It's always about learning, right?
Absolutely. Okay, we'll come back to that Rookie of the Year recognition in a moment. But Tova, if I can start with you, and that 15 years now of Sustainable Waterloo Region, it's quite the milestone number to reach.
When we realized 2024 was 15 years, we were pleased, excited, and, more than just we've survived this long and we're serving for this long, that the community cares enough to actually mean that we are making impact and there is demand for supports to move to that sort of, prosperous, equitable, resilient, low carbon future. If it wasn't for interest, we wouldn't still be here. So it means that the work is meaningful and important and valued. And that means a lot to us.
And why the annual Evening of Recognition? Why undertake this?
Well, the organizations and the communities that we work with are actually striving to do things differently. They are innovating within their industries. They are creating new models of how to run their businesses. And we want to make sure that they're recognized for the work that they're doing, for the leaders that they are. And if we don't do that and we don't bring them together, it can sometimes feel like a bit of a lonely job to be innovating all on your own. We had 460 people registered for the event this year, and that there is a time for them to all come together and understand the impact and the value of what they're doing and how they really truly are the leaders in this community, I think is a really important time to stop and reflect and reconnect.
So, Jeff, at Air Farmers Mutual, how do you continue to innovate and lead sustainably to this day?
Well, we've had one of the kind of the heart of the matter is we have a green committee, and we've had a green committee for nearly 25 years. So we've always had it at the forefront of our thinking, and we've done things like roadside cleanup, and we hold learning lunches and learn about different ways to be sustainable in our workplace. Lots of wonderful activities we've done over the years, and some really highlight items such as the microforest planting we did last year, and we also did a major rehabilitation to our wetland, which was a really big project we did back in 2014. And so there's always even how we come to get to know SWR was through our scholarships, and we give back to our children of policyholders. And one of the tasks in that scholarship program was to where would you want to see donations spent on environmental causes? And many of the students actually picked SWR, and that's how we become connected with them, and really started to grow and learn about different ways we could innovate in the sustainable capacity and integrate it right into our strategy.
You mentioned, Jeff, 25 years now that Air Farmers Mutual has been doing this. Why is it important to you?
Well, our company was started by the community. A group of people got together and started this company, and we have never forgotten that. And I think it's really important to give back to the community and do your part as whether it's a business or individuals. And so, yeah, it's something we take a great deal of pride, and we're very intentional about it. It's not just stuff to do that sounds wonderful to put on a website. It's really part of our DNA.
you mentioned earlier 130 years of Air Farmers Mutual, 25 years of this Green Committee, and now Rookie of the Year at the Evening of Recognition with Sustainable Waterloo Region, SWR. How does that make you feel?
Right. It was obviously pretty happy. I know our Green Committee was super excited to attend. Unfortunately, I came down with this horrible cold last week, but I couldn't make it. But I was thinking about those there, and of course communicating. But they're pretty pumped, and we're on to some new things for this year and ahead. So it's always great to learn ideas from others, and events like that you get to connect and hear what others are doing, and it's a feel good night for sure.
I like what you just said there about think about things to do in the year ahead. So maybe this is just a little wind in the sails as you move into the 26th year and beyond of your Green Committee.
Right. Yeah. Some of the stuff like SWR is actually helping us with a carbon cleanse challenge that we're going to be doing later this year. And I think that goes on for about a month while we do that. And then we've also engaged them to do some of those measurements of the energy usage and things like that, kind of understand where we're at in those capacities and what we can improve. But there's numerous things we've got going on, and it's great, especially when they integrate right into who we are and our strategy. So it's been a good partnership so far.
Tova, what did SWR recognize in Air Farmers Mutual that led to the recognition as Rookie of the Year?
You know, a lot of what made us a lot of what made us look at Air Farmers Mutual specifically was that there was actually an incredible quick uptake. Well, you never know when you have a new member organization you're working with, how quickly they're going to engage. But Air Farmers Mutual had it all planned out, totally on top of it. They had the green team already, which really helped. They knew that they wanted to do some measurement and monitoring of their own impacts. And so they were right on top of getting footprints done, understanding their energy modeling, greenhouse gas footprints, that kind of thing. They also had land. And so we were really excited when they said, yes, they'd also like to do a microforest. So it's not just that they, engage in one program, but they actually really embraced all of the sort of multitude of things that we do and looking for the opportunities. And it's that enthusiasm level of engagement and actual action that has really had them stand out. And I was teasing some of the folks after on Friday last week to say, could be that your green team of the year next year, just saying.
Well, Jeff, to that end, I mean, as a long-standing company in our community, what would your message be to other business leaders in terms of the importance of this work and the Green Committee that is in existence at Air Farmers Mutual?
Yeah, I think you got to be intentional. Don't just think it's a one and done, and it's really rewarding, and it feels great to do good things for your community and for one another. So yeah, I would embrace it.
Congratulations, Rookie. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining the show this morning, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Jeff Whiting is the CEO at Air Farmers Mutual Insurance Company, the Rookie of the Year at Sustainable Waterloo Region's Evening of Recognition last week. We'll take a break. Tova Davidson will stay with us, and we'll meet the greatest greenhouse gas reduction winner from last week's Evening of Recognition. Stay with us on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Continuing our conversation this morning with Sustainable Waterloo Region, its Executive Director Tova Davidson is with us. SWR, as it's known, has just celebrated 15 years in our community and had its annual Evening of Recognition. It happened last Thursday, and local organizations were recognized for their sustainability efforts. One of those organizations is Conrad Grebel University College at the University of Waterloo. The Director of Operations there, Mimi Brown, also joins our program. Mimi, good morning.
Good morning.
Conrad Grebel University College, recognized as the greatest greenhouse gas reduction. How did you achieve this?
Yeah, so we installed Grayble's first heat pump last year, and this is something we were really excited about. And we had a few bumps in the road with this heat pump, but it's great to hear that it made such a difference for us in terms of our emission reductions.
What inspired you to undertake this initiative?
Well, we have a goal of reducing our carbon emissions by 35% by 2030. That's a goal that we are matching with the University of Waterloo that has the same goal. And so it's one of the ways that we're trying to move towards that goal and achieve that reduction.
Why is it important to you as an organization to pursue a goal like this?
Yeah, I mean, we are a home and a classroom for students, and this environmental sustainability is something that's really important to our students, and we want, to make the future bright for them and to have a place that they are happy to call home. It's also part of our values as an organization. Stewardship of creation and responsible citizenship are two of our core values as an organization. And so this fits really nicely with those values.
Tova, it occurs to me that this sort of initiative strikes at the very heart of what SWR was originally involved in. I recall presentations before municipal councils challenging these councils region-wide to reduce overall greenhouse gas emissions. And what we're seeing here from Conrad Grable is just one example, one part of that overall challenge.
Yes, 100%. When we look at the work of the community climate targets that we do have, it is the work of every single organization, every single resident, every home, every transportation trip we take, all of that kind of thing. And the work that Grable did here is really inspiring. And I hope Mimi will share one of the things she shared from the podium in this interview. But one of the things we saw is that this actually can be a good way to move forward as an organization. They actually reduced their greenhouse gases 12% in 1 year. 12%, that's an incredible amount when we think that we're trying to reach 50% by 2030 reduction total as a community. That 12%, one organization with just a few things that they did, makes it feel really hopeful. So I'm really inspired by what happened at Conrad Grable.
Mimi, do you remember the story to which Tova alludes from the podium last Thursday?
Well, I'm guessing this is what she meant. And I told you earlier there were some bumps in the road with this heat pump. So we got it delivered last spring, and there are two coils, one on each side. One of them was damaged in transit. This heat pump came from Italy, so it had a long way to go. And so we asked for a replacement coil. The replacement came. It was also damaged. And so just about a month ago, we had our third coil installed so that this unit is now operating at 100%. Prior to that, it had been operating at 50% for the year. And so this award and this reduction that we saw is based on this unit operating at 50% capacity. So I'm really excited to see what happens when it's operating at 100%.
Based on your experiences, Mimi, at Conrad Grable University College, what advice would you give to any other organization that's considering undertaking an effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions?
Yeah, great question. I think don't be discouraged. Like I said, this was our first heat pump we put in, and pretty much things just kept going wrong with it, and we just kept trying over and over again. And so this was really, validating for us that this was the right thing to do. And we are moving forward and installing more heat pumps in our residents next summer. So we haven't been discouraged by this. And that's what I would share with people as well. Don't be discouraged if it's not going smoothly at first.
Tova, we're hearing from Mimi right now about what Conrad Grable University College was able to achieve in terms of that 12% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. We heard from Jeff Whiting earlier, the CEO at Air Farmer Mutual Insurance Company, about their Rookie of the Year award, their 25-year and ongoing Green Committee etc. If any other organizations have been inspired by listening to this conversation this morning, Tova, how can they get involved and partner with Sustainable Waterloo Region in the work that you do?
We'd love to hear from any organizations in this community, whether it's to work on their greenhouse gases or to support them in diverting their organics. We have a new program we just launched to get food waste out of our landfill into the hands of those who can use it, or to make renewable natural gas with it, whether it's planting microforests like we've done both at the university and with Air Farmers Mutual and many other communities around this region. They can just go to our website, sustainablewr.ca. If you go to About the Team, there's literally drop down and email Tova. There's my address right there. I'm pretty accessible. Find me on LinkedIn. We would love to work with you because we see over 15 years and about 200 organizations that we've supported in that 15 years, that this is actually a really good business decision. It's good management practices. This isn't just that it's the right thing to do. It actually can save you money and make you more innovative and attract and retain employees and reduce your risk exposure and all those things that organizations are mandated to do and need to do to actually be resilient for the long term. So we'd love to hear from any of them that are interested.
Sustainablewr.ca. I love hearing these stories. Mimi, congratulations on what you and the team at Conrad Grebel University College have been able to accomplish. And Tova, it's always good to talk to you as well. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Thanks so much, Mike. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
You as well. Tova Davidson, Executive Director at Sustainable Waterloo Region. Mimi Brown, Director of Operations, Conrad Grebel University College. With us on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Well, thanks to measles that are spreading throughout the entire province, Wellington-Dufferin-Guelph has now been identified as a risk area. We'll have that conversation in the next 30 minutes, as well as VintageFest. Oh, it's back, baby. It's coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Well, I am not telling tales out of school when I remind you that cases of the measles have been reported clear across the province, well over 1,000 province-wide, and outbreaks declared in many areas. One of the latest areas that's now being identified as a risk area is the Wellington-Dufferin-Guelph catchment area. Dr. Matthew Tenenbaum is the Associate Medical Officer of Health with Wellington-Dufferin-Guelph Public Health and joins the program to talk about it. Matthew, as we get into this, how is it that Wellington-Dufferin-Guelph became declared a risk area for the measles?
So we know we've been experiencing this measles outbreak across Ontario for the past number of months. We've had cases in our area, WDG, for a number of weeks now. But the area that's being affected has been expanding. We, in the recent couple weeks, have seen a lot of new measles cases. And in particular, we've been seeing cases not just in those populations in our community that are more typically under-vaccinated, but we've been seeing cases in our general population as well. And so there have been these ongoing meetings that all health units have with the Ministry of Health and Public Health Ontario. And one of those topics we discuss is which areas of the province are most affected. We are now considered one of those most affected areas. And the consequence of that is that we're now able to offer measles vaccine at earlier ages than we were previously able to offer it.
So what does WDG Public Health do now that you've been determined this risk area?
So the key difference for our community is that we are able to move up the timing of when people can get measles vaccines. Typically with children, you want them to get 2 doses of measles vaccine. The first one's given around their first birthday. The second dose is usually deferred until they're about 4, 5, or 6 years of age before they start school. What we're doing now is we are recommending and offering vaccine as early as 6 months. So kids as young as 6 months old can get their first dose. And we are asking people to come forward to get it earlier if they haven't had a chance to yet. Typically, we want kids to repeat that dose after they turn a year just to make sure they have long-term protection that they want to get. And instead of waiting until age 4 for that second dose, you can actually get it as soon as 4 weeks after the first dose. So you can potentially be fully up to date for measles before you're a year and a half old, which is really a lot sooner than ordinarily would be possible.
How will people be able to access these vaccines? Will public clinics be set up, for example?
Yes, so as a health unit, we offer measles vaccine appointments at all of our public health clinics, at our base offices. People can also access measles vaccine at their family doctor or whoever they go to ordinarily for their vaccines. We do distribute measles vaccine to all of our primary care settings, and if you were to go there already, they'll be able to use these new guidelines.
Matthew, I'm old enough to remember a time when I went through school and measles weren't even really a thing. They weren't talked about much at all. And now here we are with outbreaks being declared across Ontario. It seems like low vaccination rates are to blame. Is that the general consensus on this?
I think there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, I do think we're fortunate that in our area, we exceed the provincial average for measles vaccine coverage across all the age groups that we analyze. We have generally very good measles vaccine coverage, and I'm very proud of that with our community. However, measles is one of the most infectious, one of the most easily spread viruses that we deal with in public health. You know, one person who has measles, if you put them in a room with 100 folks who have no protection, you would expect that 90% or 90 out of 100 of those people would catch measles just from being in the same room. It's incredibly infectious, and the consequence is it means we need to have and maintain really, really high levels of vaccine coverage in our population. And because people who aren't up to date often tend to congregate with each other in pockets, that leads to scenarios where measles can crop up. But just to put in context, you know, in a typical year, we might across the province of Ontario see 10 or 20 cases over the course of a year, typically among people who got measles internationally and then brought it back with them from travel. We are now in a position where, you know, we're seeing 1,400 plus cases in this outbreak across the province just so far. So we are orders of magnitude higher than we ordinarily are. And, you know, just as a reminder that even though it feels like there are diseases we've defeated, those, you know, successes we've experienced are always a little bit, we have to be careful to maintain those gains because we can easily lose them if the circumstances aren't right.
I can't help but think back over the past 5 years or so when there was all this talk around vaccine and COVID, and there was a great deal of mistrust, bluntly, around the development of those vaccines and even the effects of taking them. Have we reached a new level of mistrust in the science in the vaccines?
I think we are seeing more mistrust and more hesitancy around vaccines now than we were seeing prior to COVID-19. I think that the way that a lot of the conversation around COVID vaccines unfolded, alongside, you know, people's feelings about various public health restrictions, that I think affected people's willingness to get vaccinated even in our context now after COVID. So that definitely has left a legacy. It was something we dealt with to some extent beforehand, but it has gotten worse. And I will say the information environment that we all exist in now makes it more challenging to counter that as well.
So what challenges then, or what role does public health play in terms of increasing uptake, again, getting information out there that is trustworthy, that people can rely on?
So I think the first thing we have to do, which we're doing, is making vaccine as easy as possible to access. We really want within our community there not to be any wrong doors you can go to. So you can come to us, you can come to your family doctor. Really, anyone who you go to for vaccines can offer you measles vaccine, and we're trying to make sure we equip those providers with everything they need to not just offer the vaccine, but engage in conversations. And when it comes to our dialogue with our community, you know, we are trying not just to share information, but also to better understand what information people need, what information might be more compelling, more, convincing. How do we help to get through to those people who haven't chosen to get vaccinated yet? How do we understand their barriers? As I said, we have generally very good coverage, and most people are getting the vaccines that we're recommending. Our question is, how do we reach that last 5 or so percent? What do we need to do differently? And that's going to be what makes the difference for us.
Matthew, I really appreciate your time on the show today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Mike. Pleasure speaking.
Dr. Matthew Tenenbaum is the Associate Medical Officer of Health at Wellington-Dufferin-Guelph Public Health. Measles spreading throughout the province, and in that region, Wellington-Dufferin-Guelph, it's been designated a risk area due to the number of cases. And the the possibility of contracting the measles. Vaccination rates high in relation to other parts of the province, but lower than perhaps we would have expected generations ago. Interesting times as the measles re-emerge. Speaking of re-emerging, certainly coming back to the streets of Uptown Waterloo, and in particular our public square, VintageFest. It's a long weekend celebration in the Uptown, and we'll tell you more about it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show this morning. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. KW VintageFest. Oh, it's back, baby, and it's coming to Uptown Waterloo this weekend. Joining me in studio to talk more about it, Robin Lindner, who is a founder of KW Famous. It has been far too long since I've seen you in this capacity, Robin. I see you all over the Ding Dang place, but here in the studio, welcome back. Good morning.
Thank you. It's been a while. It's been too long.
It's been way too long.
What happened?
That's on me. It's 100% on me. But you're here now, and we're getting ready for VintageFest this weekend. Really looking forward to it. Jayaz Balaskanthan, who is the executive director of the Uptown Waterloo BIA. Great to see you, my friend. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here to talk about the Vintage Festival.
I'm just going to get you to move a little closer to the front of your microphone there. Okay, we're going to turn it into you a little bit more. There we go. I should have done this ahead of time. Now you're all set, JS. Thank you very much. All right, Robin, let's get to the happenings this weekend. It's a long weekend, and what better way to mark the long weekend than with the return of VintageFest? What happens at VintageFest?
What doesn't happen at VintageFest? No, I'm really excited for this year because, one, we're going to be uptown with JS, and two, we're going to use the Uptown Parkade and flip it into a stacked market full of vendors, full of arts and crafts, DIY, upcycled clothing. We've got games. We've got a roller disco on the rooftop. I mean, there's a lot going on this year.
As you said, what is not happening at VintageFest, right? These ideas are continually coming out of the minds of you and KW Famous. Where does it come from? What's the inspiration for this?
It comes from the artists, not always from me. Like, as KW Famous started, we just became friends with a lot of artists, and that was kind of our network of people. And instead of putting our ideas out to them, we thought they would put, our idea or their ideas to bring them to life, and we would just help them along. So, for instance, that's the fashion show that happens. It's by 5 very talented designers this year that are all coming together and curating a big show. We've got a Miss Vintage Fest pageant as well, which will be really fun. And that's from Retro Peaches. So, I mean, it's a lot of small businesses and a lot of people that make this kind of thing happen.
JS, what does an event like this mean for the Uptown?
It's huge, Mike, right? So when Robin reached out to me in the fall, I'm grateful, thankful for her leadership, her vision, and KW Famous to be able to partner with us to do this in Uptown. It was a no-brainer. And I said, we'll do all the work, we'll get it done. We want to thank the region of Waterloo, the city of Waterloo for helping us. This is the first time we are doing a festival like this in the month of May in Uptown Waterloo. So it's new, especially in the times where there are economic challenges now and you're talking about tariff and other stuff. To do an event like this, the impact it's going to have in Uptown Waterloo for our local economy, I couldn't be more thankful for Robin and her leadership and KW Famous. So we will do the work, and it's going to be phenomenal. And it's going to bring thousands of people on a May long weekend where we never had anything like this happen, right? So, and our hope, Mike, is that we kick ass, which we are going to do, and continue this every year. It becomes a tradition. Like in the May long weekend, you come to Uptown Waterloo, it's Vintage Festival.
Well, and did we mention it was free?
Absolutely. Thank you. This is why we are good partners.
That's one of my favorite words in the English language, FREE, free. So when does it all happen, Robin?
So this Saturday, May 17th, we kick it off at 10 a.m. We are also throwing a little after party because, as in KW Famous style, we have to do that. And then the Sunday, we're going to be back at 10 a.m. and going till 6 p.m.
Do we need anything, like you mentioned, the roller skating, et cetera? Do we need our own roller skates? Do we need to bring anything, or is everything going to be right there in the parkade for us?
If you don't have roller skates, we've got retro rollers coming, and they're going to be renting skates out, so don't worry about that. But if you want a helmet or some knee pads, maybe maybe a good idea.
Yeah, I might put on full hockey gear just to keep myself protected because I'm not so good on those skates anymore, for sure. JS, it's interesting to talk to you as the executive director of the Uptown Waterloo BIA because we think about, and you mentioned the economic impact, which absolutely will be there because we're drawing people into the core. But really, your work as the executive director at the BIA is about more than just bringing in new businesses, et cetera. You animate spaces like this, and that's just good for the core overall.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything we could do to continuously and consistently bring people to Uptown for the local economy, it's really big, right? And the BIA's, Mike, from day one, our mandates have been supporting local. That's what all of the business improvement areas have been doing, right? You go every city you go to, every downtown core you go to. So for us to be able to strategically add things, especially now in 2025 during these times, it is very important that we do that. So when folks are seeking out for partnerships, it is our responsibility to say yes and figure out a way to get it done so we can bring people. And going back to saying it's free. It doesn't cost folks anything. Come up, enjoy, see all of I think Robin mentioned the vintage car show that's going to be part of it. So to be able to use the entire parkade, rain or shine, everything is covered. You are safe. Come have a good time. And it's for family. It's a family-oriented event, right? So everybody can come up on the long weekend. There's plenty of free parking in Uptown as well. And also take the transit as well, which is the transit corridor is right there. So we are lucky. And it's my responsibility, again, as a leader, as the executive director, find ways to continue to partner, especially when an organization like KW Famous, whose track record is phenomenal, and a leader like Robin there, get to work with them and get things done.
You mentioned earlier, JS, the impact of tariffs on our local economy, and there's been a great push to shop local, source things domestically. What have you been hearing from and noticing in Uptown from the businesses, the local businesses here?
Yeah, we've been talking to a lot of our businesses. Obviously, there is a challenge with some of the cost increase, but a lot of the businesses, I don't want to mention names here, they have done their due diligence and they are mostly focusing on local purchasing now, right? Local vendors and getting all of their supplies from Canadian suppliers. Some of our biggest members in Uptown have reduced their purchases from U.S. by 75-80% within a couple of weeks. So for them to be able to do that, it's pretty phenomenal, very thoughtful and strategic. And now they are finding ways to extend that now. So the supply list domestically, whether it's from within the province, within the region, or nationally, stays for the long time.
All right. I want to just shamelessly shout out an Uptown business, Dana Short Gourmet and Gifts, just in behind City Hall on the other side of the Spurline Trail there. Big supporters of Farwell for Hire. Buy some Hat Trick shortbread cookies. I'm just putting it out there because you buy those cookies, you support our campaign. Robin, a parkade as a venue. Interesting space to program, yeah?
Yeah, I've always looked at it because I live Uptown.
Right.
I've always looked at it and been like, you know what? Like, something needs to happen here. What a great view of the city and the whole square that you can see from up there. And it was just amazing of JS to actually believe in our idea and say yes to these crazy things that we throw at him. So, and again, thank you to the Waterloo Region for also making this happen because, I went in expecting them to say no for sure.
I love it. We're bringing ideas to life. We're animating the parkade in Uptown Waterloo. It is free family fun, long weekend, Saturday and Sunday in the Uptown Waterloo parkade. Getting underway both days, Robin, at 10?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, 10 o'clock starting Saturday morning, again on Sunday. Enjoy VintageFest in Uptown Waterloo. Robin Lindner, founder of KW Famous. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And J.S. Balaskantan, the executive director of the Uptown Waterloo BIA. Always good to see you, sir. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. You know how I know it's the second Tuesday of the month? Because our friends from the Canadian Mental Health Association of Waterloo Wellington will be here for our monthly mental health check-in. And before noon, I know I've admitted this before, I'm a bit of a radio geek. But anybody who is even a little bit of a radio geek remembers the great turkey drop from WKRP in Cincinnati, right?
Oh my God, they're talking! Oh,
Humility! The turkeys are hitting the ground like sacks of wet cement.
We are not dropping turkeys, frozen or otherwise, but we are dropping golf balls. The great golf ball drop also coming up before noon. Stay with us on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio. And Roger. On the second Tuesday of every month at 11:30, we check in with our friends at the Canadian Mental Health Association of Waterloo Wellington for our own mental health check-in, joined by CEO of CMHA-WW, Helen Fishburne, on the program. Helen, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Always good to be with you.
It's always good to have these conversations. I do look forward to them, and I appreciate the opportunity we have here on a monthly basis to kind of check in and reset, and something that has just happened for the Canadian Mental Health Association, and that was the annual Run for Women. What a success, Helen, this past weekend.
Honestly, just overwhelming for us. So incredible. So our community came out in full force for us, Mike, on Saturday. We had 1,700 participants that were either walking or running, more than we've ever had, and we raised over $200,000 in a single day. Just amazing. So it isn't just about the money, which of course is going to help us enhance our programming, mental health programming for women in the areas of crisis, eating disorders, and early psychosis. But in particular, it's really about our community showing up for mental health, right? When you have 1,700 people coming, they're all connected to people they're thinking about, they might be worried about. It might be their own journey. We had this amazing young woman, Angelica Appleman, who shared her personal story. She's an aspiring country singer, and she's written a song called Finding My Feet, which really just touched the crowd as well. Our corporate sponsors, honestly, Mike, it just means so much to us. As you know, we struggle with the level of government funding we have, so relying on fundraising is just absolutely essential for us, and our community once again came through for us.
It's incredible, those 1,700 people rallying and $200,000 plus raised at the event. And just thinking back on last weekend, Helen, which was the end of Mental Health Week, the theme this year was unmasking mental health. What were we hoping to accomplish last week?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's about being genuine. It's about being authentic. I mean, what we always know in the mental health conversation is we want people to be who they truly are. And that is a positive mental health, right? We all have good days. We have bad days, days where we're on top of the world, days we're struggling. That is mental health. It's just life for all of us. And unmasking means that we're just being true to ourselves. We're being honest about where we're at in our days. And again, there are some people that struggle with mental illness, right? But they also have mental health. So mental health is for everyone. And it's just about being in touch with who we are and accepting ourselves. And then, of course, Mike, as you know, just accepting the vulnerability of other people. Sometimes we're all quick to judge. We're quick to make assumptions about people. We don't know people's stories, right? So we see what we think we know, but we don't really know. So unmasking is just really that invitation to be authentic.
I love that reminder because, in fairness, Helen, I do think it's easier said than done, and it needs to be reinforced that we don't know what that other person is carrying, maybe even just in that day. It could have been a bad morning before they left the house, for example.
That's right. And, you know, my dad's famous expression, Mike, you know the what, you don't know the why. And that is, honestly, it's about accepting and embracing and asking, checking it out with each other, right? Like, you don't see me yourself today. How are you doing? It's so simple, but it takes time and it takes effort. And you're right, it isn't easy. We have to retrain ourselves because we're all so used to saying, oh, fine, good. And then we just keep going, right? But you have no idea, for someone that's struggling, for someone that is having one of those dark days or in a dark time in their life, how much that check-in, how much that kind word, that support, or hey, let's go for a walk, or let's grab a cup of coffee, that can honestly be life-changing for people.
You mentioned earlier, Helen, the corporate support that you received for the Run for Women this past weekend. And I know that there is great corporate engagement and partnership around Mental Health Week as well, which just makes me think of workplaces more generally. This region that we're in, one of the top communities in all of Canada impacted by the tariff war with the United States. So I just wonder what sorts of struggles might be emerging in workplaces around here when it comes to meeting the needs of the mental health of employees and employers too.
Yeah, we're really, really seeing it. I always say that our workplace is really the front line for mental health these days, Mike, because we all, we're all people first, and then we show up. We spend a lot of our time at work. So when I think about like our corporate donors and sponsors at Shoppers Run for Women, big companies like ATS and Denso and Toyota, right? And the work that they're doing to change their culture, and these are all companies, and there's so many more. When I think of Linamar and like so many companies right now being impacted by tariffs, right? But they are really, really working to not only look at the economic impact of tariffs and understand and try and navigate that, which is a whole other segment for you, Mike, for sure. But, the mental health impact, right? They know that their workers are unsettled. They're feeling uncertain. It's a constantly changing landscape right now. There's no rules. There's no playbook to how this is rolling out. And that creates anxiety and worry and fear. Many of our workers have mortgages. They have families to feed. They have people to take care of. It's a very unsettling time. So naming that anxiety, talking about it, addressing it, and having these employers really look at how they can increase those supports. It's so important right now. And you're absolutely right, Mike. Guelph and Waterloo Region in particular, two of the communities that have the highest impact on tariffs. It is really quite an unsettling time for many people out there.
Speaking of support that can be counted upon, Helen, there is a provincial budget being tabled on Thursday, the first budget under this latest Doug Ford government. I try hard not to be cynical, but I am a little bit of a cynic. And I just wonder, from your position as the CEO of the Canadian Mental Health Association, Waterloo Wellington, if there's any signs or signals of optimism for this budget, what you might hope to see in it.
Well, I can honestly tell you we are desperate for some support, and I literally mean we are desperate. We are holding our breath for Thursday afternoon. So as it stands right now, Mike, mental health across Ontario receives less than 5% of the overall healthcare budget in Ontario. That is far less than other provinces across Canada and far less than other countries who prioritize mental health support. We need our provincial government to hear us, to see us, and to step up with some more funding. We've been working really hard at the provincial level with CMHA Ontario and Children's Mental Health Ontario, and then I've been meeting with all of our local MPPs to really make sure that they understand that there isn't enough care in our community. There literally is not enough care. There's 3,578 people waiting for care today in Waterloo, Wellington, people that don't have the kind of care that they need to take care of their wellness. So we are really pushing hard with the provincial government. We're really hoping they're going to come through for us in the provincial budget. I know there are so many needs across our community, even just across healthcare, but we have to have more than 5% of the overall budget because, as you know, Mike, mental health cuts across everything, right? If you have cancer, you have mental health challenges. If you're unemployed, you have mental health challenges. It's everywhere. It's in every corner of our community, and we have to reach into those corners, which means that we need more support.
I know that you and the team at CMHA WW continue to reach into those corners and support our community. We're very grateful for that, Helen, and thanks for the time on the show again this morning.
No problem. The other one, just one last little shout out I wanted to give was we just got a call from Westmount. They're doing a tennis tournament for us, Mike. Another example of just a corporate partner stepping up. They're doing a 50-50, which is a raffle. They've got prizes. They've got jackpot. Again, we didn't reach out to them. They reached out to us. And again, I just really wanted to say, with all the struggles and challenges we have in trying to get more funding, just so much gratitude for our corporate partners. In this example, Westmount, just honestly picking up the phone saying, hey, how can we support you? We truly, truly appreciate it. And I always want to leave that thanks on the table for our community.
I'm glad you did that. Thank you, because my good friend Paul Fixter is a member at Westmount. I know how committed they are to being upstanding community members, all the members of the club and the club itself. So this is great to hear.
We appreciate it. It's awesome. Yeah. You have a great day, Mike, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Helen. Look forward to it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Helen Fishburne is the CEO of the Canadian Mental Health Association, Waterloo, Wellington. Way to go, Westmount. Golf, tennis, all in one place. And yes, doing their best to be good corporate citizens in our community, reaching out to the Canadian Mental Health Association of Waterloo, Wellington, saying, how can we help? And just remember that theme from Mental Health Week last week, unmasking mental health, being your authentic self unapologetically, and remembering that those that you encounter on a daily basis are also being their authentic selves. You know the what, you can recognize the behavior, but you don't know the why. In the famous words of Helen's father, why are they acting in that manner in this moment? If we remember that, I always call it the suitcase that we're pulling behind us. We've all got one. It's all got stuff in it. It's not a competition who's got the most stuff or the heaviest stuff. I think it's just enough to remember that the suitcase is there and we're all dragging one behind us. We're going to take a break. When we come back, it's the Great Golf Ball Drop in support of an organization in our community that I've got tons of time for. You'll meet the organization and learn more about the ball drop coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. We are just over a month away, 6 weeks to be exact. It was 6 weeks yesterday, away from the annual golf tournament in support of KW AccessAbility. That's ability with an A. It's happening on the 23rd of June. It's a Monday at Galt Country Club. Joining us on the program to talk a little bit more about it, my good friend, and if I'm not mistaken, good sir, King Charles Medal winner, Edward Farwell. Do I have that right, Mr. Farwell?
As a matter of fact, Mike, you do have that right.
Son of a gun. Every once in a while, Edward, I do get something right, don't I?
Well, you're on top of things, I got to say.
Congratulations on the recognition, Edward. It's very deserving for you, sir.
I really appreciate that. It was a great honor and a real surprise when I was told about it. So I really appreciate that.
Along with Edward Farwell this morning, the executive director at KW AccessAbility, we're joined by Brett Worley, the chair of the golf tournament organizing committee. I alluded to that golf tournament a moment ago. Brett, good morning.
Morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Very good.
Glad to hear it. Edward, let me start with you, if I can. The golf tournament coming up on June the 23rd at Galt Country Club, as I already mentioned. This is in support of the work you do at KW AccessAbility. For those that don't know, Edward, can you share with us what you do at KW AccessAbility?
Sure, absolutely. So, Mike, we're a small grassroots nonprofit charity. We've been in KW for over 50 years, and we support adults with physical disabilities. A lot of our members fall through the cracks with other agencies and organizations, and we're there to help them improve their quality of life, give them real meaning and a place they can call home.
And the money that gets raised through this annual golf tournament, Edward, what does that help you do at KW AccessAbility?
Well, funds have been being decreased all the time with cutbacks, and so this tournament is really important. It goes directly to the programs that we provide our members with. A lot of health and wellness, social, recreational activities. We also teach people how to use computers, different adaptive aids like people with visual issues. We can teach them how to use screen readers. just to open their world and make their life more accessible and more social and, increase their mental health.
Brett, I recall talking to you last year as the golf tournament was approaching, and you said you had this great idea. You even sent me a link to a YouTube video of it. A golf ball drop from a helicopter. First of all, where did you find this wackadoodle idea? How does it all work?
Well, where do you find any wackadoodle ideas? They're all on YouTube. Right?
That's right.
That's pretty much all the ideas I come from. Anyway,
I love it.
That's where it started. And then when I threw it out to the group at our weekly committee, they all thought it was a great idea, but no idea how to get started. So we started making phone calls.
And you made it happen last year, and you're bringing it back for another year, as I understand.
We are. I'll be honest. The response and reception we got was even better than we anticipated. We hoped that the people at the tournament would be excited, but we ended up having a CTV news camera come out. We had people from the club that weren't even participating in the tournament come to the club just to watch. We had some folks from the community just to see what this was all about and whether we were actually going to pull it off. And yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and you did pull it off in fine fashion as well. So how does it work, Brett? We can buy a golf ball, it gets numbered, and then at the designated time, the helicopter hovers over a green, the balls are poured out, and the closest one to the pin ends up being a winner?
Yeah, so we're selling balls, one for $20 and three for $50, the same as we did last year.
Okay.
And we've actually got tickets printed this year, and the ticket numbers match the golf ball number. So we, with anything that you do, you learn from year one and you try to improve in year two and beyond. So that's one thing that we've added this year, and we would certainly like to thank Minuteman Press and Pinson for helping us with the tickets. So we're selling tickets to match the golf ball number. But yes, when you buy 1, 3, 10, however many golf balls, each of those golf balls will have a number from 001 up to last year. We sold just over 1,600, and we're hoping to surpass that this year. When those 1,600 plus golf balls drop from about 40 odd feet in the air, literally hovering above a green on the 18th fairway at Galt Country Club, one ball will end up closest to that pin, and they will walk away with $10,000.
That is pretty cool. Is there a way for us to get our hands on tickets, Brett?
There absolutely is. So I'll probably let Edward jump in, because what we've tried to do on our sort of our public facing is direct people into the office to make calls. Now, obviously, all the committee members, myself included, are out in the community selling tickets. So certainly anybody could get a hold of me, but if they want to go directly into the office, that would be the best and quickest way to do it. Call the office, tell them you want balls, and then Edward and Rob from the office would facilitate them getting their tickets and sending money in that way. Yeah.
Edward, what's the best way for us to do that?
Yeah, definitely. As Brett said, if people call the office, 519-885-6640, they can tell us how many tickets they want, and they can either e-transfer or send cash or debit. We can do whatever's most convenient for them, and then we'll make sure that they get the tickets. All the information, too, Mike, is on our website at kwaccessibility.ca/golfballdrop. So it's got our phone number and my email address and all the rules and everything pertaining to the drop. So
good to know. So that's KW AccessAbility with an A, kwaccessibility.ca/golfballdrop. You'll find the information there. Get in touch, get some of those tickets. It's a lot of fun. It's a great spectacle. It's raising money for a great cause. Brett, any room left in the golf tournament by chance?
Well, Edward and I were just talking about that this morning. We're essentially full, but we did talk about we could probably squeeze one more foursome in if we had a group that was kind of late to the table and hoping to still get in the tournament. So we've got one more spot available if there's somebody out there that's interested in getting involved. It's been such a great event we're into our 11th year, but our 9th event. So we have a lot of people that come back year over year. So we have spots fill up early. But.
I get it, but it is a great event. So we'll squeeze you in if there's room there, or we have room for that one more group. KW AccessAbility.ca. Brett Worley, who chairs the golf tournament organizing committee, and Edward Ferruzel, the executive director at KW AccessAbility. Gentlemen, keep up the great work, and thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thanks for having us on, Mike.
Appreciate it, Mike. Take care.
This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I may be the voice of reason, but I want to hear your reasons for whatever it happens to be. Living today, reasons you're upset, reasons you're happy. Talkback begins after this update from the 570 News Center on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage out of sight, or you don't go out Friday night. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
I have questions. Oh, have I got questions. Hey, Prime Minister Carney, what have you got against Waterloo Region? Heck, I could ask the same question of Prime Minister Trudeau. To some degree, maybe Prime Minister Harper. I don't know. Like, what is it going to take? When's the last time I reminded you that we are the 10th largest municipality in this country? 10th largest, right here, where you live today. The place that you are in is the 10th largest municipality in the country. You got your Torontos, your Montreals, your Vancouvers, your Edmontons, blah, 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 blah. 10th place, the region of Waterloo. And we can't get a ding-dang cabinet minister. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? Yes, it is what you're telling me, because Prime Minister Carney unveiled his cabinet today, and there is not a member from the region of Waterloo. I recognize there are only 2 Liberal members of Parliament left in the region of Waterloo after the last election, but still, you go back to 2008, and that's when Gary Goodyear, who was a Conservative MP for Cambridge, was named the Minister of State for Science and Technology. That's not really a full-fledged cabinet minister. Minister of State for Science and Technology. And then Bardish Chagger, who still represents Waterloo as a Liberal, was the Minister of Small Business and Tourism from 2015 to 2018, and the Minister of Diversity, Inclusion and Youth from 2019 to 2021, but ain't nothing since. Nary a whisper. Why can we in this region not get a cabinet minister in our federal government? Does the federal government know that the 10th largest municipality in the country is this one? Do you know that, Mr. Carney? Are you aware? Hello? Hello, McFly. Come on with your coming on. We can't even get a ding-dang cabinet minister. Here's the other question I have for you today. As you no doubt heard this morning while listening to Christine Clark and Mark Douglas, like I was on all news mornings on 570 News Radio, the plans, ambitious plans, to expand Honda's operations in Alliston, Ontario. Yes, Honda, the automaker, expanding in Alliston, Ontario, to become a bigger part of the electric vehicle industry. We're pumping public dollars into it. I know the public dollars are safe for now, which is good, I suppose, but those plans are being paused for a couple of years. So instead of firing up in 2028, we're going to fire up in 2030, maybe. It's kind of a two-part question. First of all, what is this telling us about the EV industry and the future of electric vehicles if Honda is slowing down its plans? But more to the point, if the rumors are to be believed, and I think they are, that the land assembly in Wilmot Township is being designed for a future member of the electric vehicle industry, battery plant, whatever, Toyota, EVs, whatever, if that's what the land in Wilmot's being assembled for, but Honda is pausing its plans and we're wondering what's going on with the EV industry, then I ask you, my friend, the hell is going to happen with the Wilmot Land Assembly? Are we going to unassemble? There's questions that I got today. Talkback Hour begins at 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Andre, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. A couple of things. I got one of your answers. For the Prime Minister, he was in Kitchener when he did his...
Did he know that it's the 10th largest municipality in Canada while he was here? Did he know that?
Yeah, he knows.
Okay, then why didn't he give us a cabinet minister?
Well, I think because Mr. Rob Deutschmann is very tough, and they need to make a better deal or something.
Wait a minute. What has Rob Deutschmann got to do with a cabinet minister from the federal government, Andre?
Isn't he federal now in Cambridge?
No, he is not elected currently.
Well, he will be.
Okay.
I believe so.
Okay. And then we'll make Rob Deutschmann a cabinet minister. I got you. Okay, that was one of your things. What's your other thing?
My other thing is about the KW accessibility.
Yes.
I do talk about it every year. And I was one of them who, to me, my life was based all on sports, even ping pong or figure skating. It's a sport. I did it all. And it was taken away from me. And it was all about construction and being blind. And with some mental trauma issue, it was very complicated. And because of them, I could function today. So I'm very thankful to what they do. And I am one of them who has a change. So kudos to them for what they do.
All right, Andre. You're right. KW AccessAbility is doing great work. And just for the record, figure skating is not a sport. Only insofar as it's judged. Sports should not be judged. It should, the winner of a sport should not be left up to somebody's opinion on your performance. It's tremendously, it requires tremendous athletic ability, but it's not a sport in my definition of sports. Grant, good afternoon.
Oh, Mr. Mikey. You're so funny.
Thank you. That's what my beloved says all the time. Actually, she doesn't.
Instead of over the weekend where you were asked to go down in the basement or wherever to watch the game because you were cursing.
That's right. Oh, my goodness. On Sunday night, let me tell you, was I upset at that hockey game. Whoo-wee. I had to put a toonie in the swear jar.
And my brother got a kick out of that, too. I told him that you got little short Mike got kicked out of his...
Yeah, I scared the dog. I annoyed my partner. It's terrible.
And I thought that was kind of cracked me up about your last segment. Helicopter dropping
turkeys. But we're going to drop golf balls, and it's for KW accessibility. So there you go.
I thought that was kind of a funny part of the game, and I didn't realize they've been around for 50 years. I'm surprised you don't want to put on that shirt. I think what we need to do is bolt your feet down, and we'll put that shirt on.
Okay. You know what you can do? You can bolt my feet down and put that shirt on. If you raise, it's got to be more than the last time. It's as simple as that. Andre called yesterday and said, for my Farwell for Hire charity, would I put on a jersey of the team that shall not be named? He said he would pay $100. I said no. He said 110. I said no. Somebody years ago got me to do it and brought $1,200. I don't think I should start any lower than that because I hate the team even more now. I'm sorry to say hate, but it's the team that shall not be named. I really don't like them. So I'm not going to put on that jersey for $100. I'll donate to my own charity. I'll give $100 of my own money to not put it on. If you want me to put it on, you got to come up with more than $100. You also need to answer for me 2 questions. When the heck do we get a cabinet minister? And what's going to happen with the Wilmot Land Assembly now that Honda is backtracking on its electric vehicle plans in Ontario? Huh? What are we doing around here? It's your Talkback Hour on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is your daily Talkback Hour where you get to do just that. Talk back. You call, I'll answer. You can start the conversation. You can answer either of my questions about cabinet ministers or the Wilmot Land Assembly, or just go in your own direction. Doug, good afternoon.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not bad. Regarding the land development,
yeah.
If we're not going to work on it anytime soon, why not go to the university and get some of the horticulture students and maybe some of our homeless people, and why don't we make gardens out there? Small, manageable gardens that would go to the food banks, the soup kitchens, anybody that helps the homeless.
Well, why don't we just keep farming the land, Doug? What about that?
Well, I think, maybe some of the farmers that they booted out or sold to, maybe some of them might be willing to help.
Yeah, I hear where you're coming from. There's a program that operates like that. I hope, is it still in place down at the Hacienda in Kitchener? I believe there are gardens there that support, I think it's the Working Center. Forgive me, but there is a program like that where small community gardens are used to support food programs for the food insecure in this community. Remember, what we're talking about in Wilmot Township is almost 800 acres here. That's a lot of small community gardens, believe you me. I'm just curious with the signal from the EV industry. I don't know what's going on with it, but if Honda's backing out on its plans, and there was that, I forget the company, forgive me, but in Quinte Region, they had assembled land. They were all set. The company was coming in. All of a sudden, they hit the brakes, and they hit the brakes hard, and they said, we're not doing this. And they're pulling out. So I don't know. I don't love the signals I'm getting from the electric vehicle industry. And I'm just wondering if Honda's scaling back or pressing pause in Alliston. First of all, there were public dollars committed to that. I guess the public dollars won't go there. But there was a belief that this is, the next generation of auto worker. And all of the talk around the Wilmot Land Assembly was that this is for a future likely EV battery plant. Well, if they're not building EVs, we're not going to need EV batteries, are we? So what does that mean for the future of the Land Assembly? I think I know what it means. I'm just putting it out there for you to think about. Kyle, good afternoon.
I think we could both agree that you should not be wearing that jersey unless it's for at least $1 million or at least $1,000. I think $1,000 is a good price now to start the bidding.
I liked the million idea. Listen, how about this, Kyle? It's the drive for 1.5 on my fundraising campaign this year. If I can raise $150,000, we'll reach a 1.5 million total. So anything that's going to get me closer to $150,000, Kyle.
I don't know. I don't think that you deserve to wear that beautiful red jersey of ours.
Very funny.
Every time I look at your jersey, it reminds me of being up north and, the leaves. I used to use that to go to the bathroom to wipe after I was done.
Wow.
And every time I look at that jersey, it just reminds me of that, So
wow.
I take that maple leaf and, you call mine the toilet. So I just flush your leaf down my toilet because, we know how history is. And, nobody has won the more cups than that team that shall not be named. And we'll be I guess it'll be just next year. I guess you guys will. Is it next year you guys are planning to win the cup, or is it the year after, or is it 2030 or 2100 or 2200? Do you know what year is it actually going to be when you guys win the cup? Do you know that, Mike?
2025.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to hold my breath, but
all right. Well, you ask a question, I'm going to give you an answer, pal.
All right, and then you're not going to be disappointed when it's next year, are you? Or the year after that?
No, I'll take 2 or 3 in a row for sure.
Okay. Well played, Mike. All right, I'll talk to you later, my friend.
All right, thanks, Kyle. Listen, I don't need to know that much about your habits in the woods, but there is no disputing that the logo for the team that shall not be named looks like a toilet seat. It does, with some mesh in the middle of it. That I'm not making that up. That's what it looks like, and that's all there is to it. But if it's going to get me closer to $150,000 in fundraising, better get me real close. And I'm still going to wear a Leafs jersey underneath because the Leafs are closest to my heart. It's your Talkback Hour on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is your hour to share your views. Love hearing from you. Right back to the phones. George, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. How you doing there?
Good, thank you. How are you doing there?
I'm calling you, Mike, to let you know under no circumstance put that sweater on. It's awful. It's terrible. As a Blackhawk fan, it's just painful to look at because of all the opportunities the Blackhawks lost in the 60s and 70s. Unless they have the cure, Mike, do not put that shirt on. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Listen, I'm with you, buddy. Like I feel it in my bones. Every fiber of my being dislikes that hockey team. Like really strongly dislikes. Jethro, good afternoon. There's nobody there. Devin Robertson, the guy on the other side of the glass, and I were having, I don't know, we were having a little conversation because the name that got put on my call screen was Jess Tro. I'm like, it can't be Jess Tro. I've never heard the name Jess Tro before. So I went with Jethro, but now we'll never find out. Hey, Jess Tro or Jethro, if you're still, I don't know, Dev. I don't know. I don't know what was going on with that. Maybe it was Jess Tro, and by calling him or her Jethro, they didn't answer. Just don't call me late for dinner, is what I say. Toll-free Jay, your name I know. Good afternoon.
Well, just so that our friend who prefers the team should not be named.
We have a friend that has a...
his name has slipped my mind. You talked to him earlier.
Kyle?
Yeah, yes.
He's not my friend. Don't talk about him like that.
I understand.
Okay, yeah. He is, but don't... Anyway.
We don't need... I mean, I hope we do, but we don't need to win the cup. We are pure. As long as we get the effort we get, we're good. Every year, I hope we win. I hope we continue on. But they help me live the dream because they do the best they can every year.
Wow. That is a loyal and loving fan. Listen, Jay, I'm with you. In fact, I read a headline on a story earlier today that the Leafs need a good Game 5 to fend off the critics. No, they don't. Who cares about the critics? You need a good Game 5 to take the advantage in the series. Like, that's all that the Leafs should be concerned about. Who cares about the critics? Critics are going to criticize. That's their job. I like where Jay's coming from here. You know, they're trying their best. I think the Leafs have played a fine series. Look, when you go into Florida up 2-0, would you like to come home up 3-1 or finish it off in 4 straight? Of course. But I got no qualms about how they played. However, I'm not quite as forgiving as Jay overall. Like, it's been 58 years, Jay. We need a ding-dang Stanley Cup, please and thank you. Talkback continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio. Talkback is the hour we set aside each day for you to weigh in on the news of the day. Let us know what's going on in your area of this region. The 10th largest municipality in Canada that still can't get a cabinet minister. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Sestro, good afternoon. Okay, now this is the second time. Hello.
Mike. Yeah.
Yes, Sestro.
Yeah, how you doing, Matt?
I'm doing real good. How are you doing?
Great. Listen, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
The Washington Redskins have to change their names, right?
Yeah, you can't, Sestro, what are you doing? It's the Washington Commanders now. Come on.
All right.
Okay.
The Cleveland Indians had to change their name, right?
Sestro, yes, they did.
All right.
Okay.
Why are we still wearing the emblem of the New Orleans Saints?
I don't know enough about the history, Sestro.
Do you know the name of the emblem on the New Orleans Saints?
Well, I thought it was like the fleur de lis, but is it different?
That is correct. That is correct.
Yes.
Do you know the issue behind that?
I do not, sir.
All right. Let me educate you on that.
Yes, please.
That's what the slave masters used to brand their slaves when they tried to run away.
Really?
Yes. So why didn't they change that emblem?
That's a very good question. Has anybody asked for it to be changed before?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just saying it right now that, they changed the football team, they changed everything, and we're still wearing an emblem that degrades black people.
Am I not mistaken though, Sestro? It's the same on the flag of the province of Quebec,
correct.
Is it not?
You're not? That is correct.
Okay. So we should change that flag then too.
Of course it should change, Mike. They use that emblem to brand black people when they were trying to run away, slaves when they were trying to run away.
I am sorry to say I was completely ignorant of this until you just told me about it.
No, that's okay. That's all right. I have another thing with you too, man. You're a sportscaster, right?
A little bit. I fake it once in a while, sure.
Sportscaster. You're big time. And as a sportscaster, you should not refuse to call a team name. I do not like the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I still call their name, and I still talk about them. And you as a radio host, I am a full-time Montreal Canadian.
Sestro, do not. You can't say that on my show. You cannot.
If you
no.
want to hang up on me, Mike, that's okay.
Okay, fine. There you go. I enjoyed hearing from you, Sestro. I hope that you call again. I do. And I'm going to look up more about the fleur de lis, which, I had no idea about. And look, I know, as a sportscaster, if I was in the National Hockey League and the Toronto Maple Leafs were playing that team, this is just something I do completely for fun. It's just a little bit of exaggerated ridiculousness. I really do, truly, in my heart of hearts, hate the team. I'm sorry. I do. I just do. So it's just a little fun. So I guess what I'm saying, Sestro, in a long and roundabout way, is I'm not much of a professional at all. I'm a hack, and it's the thing that I do. And unfortunately, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm sorry I hung up on you, but you said the name. And when you say the name, I have to hang up on you. That's the rule of this show. Over to you, Bob, on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Hey, Mike. How are you doing, sir?
Bob, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What the hell happened to you yesterday? You called in and you had the radio going in the background, and I asked you to turn down the radio, and then, I don't know, did you get abducted by aliens? What happened?
I was talking to you. I said, hang on, Mike. Give me a second. I'm on my way to turn it down. I don't have a remote. I had to go across the room.
Well, why did you go all the way across the room onto the phone before you turned down your radio?
Because I was doing something and didn't forgot to have it on that loud.
Man, you must have a big house. That was a lot. You just fell right off the face of the earth.
No, I just got an apartment. I just moved kind of slow. I got mobility issues.
Okay. I thank you for clarifying, because I wondered where, I thought I don't know. I didn't know what happened to you, but you were gone.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
No, what I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't really mean this as a knock. It's just it seems the way the party works. And within 2 years, I wouldn't be surprised to hear on a brain part that Pierre's would be gone, because even the party during the election wasn't running.
Hang on.
Within.
You think the Conservatives are going to change leaders?
Yeah.
Well, they're not.
I would be surprised.
No, they're not going to do it.
Because he had a 20-point lead and he blew it. And then near the end of the election, they weren't even showing his face in commercials. They brought back Stephen Harper.
All right, so who's going to be the next leader?
I don't know.
Okay.
But that just seems that's what they do.
All right, Bob. Well, I mean, you're right. Like Andrew Scheer, Aaron O'Toole, Pierre Poilievre, etc. I don't think that there is any imminent change coming. at the helm of the federal Conservatives. I think Pierre Poilievre will remain in that position. And by the way, he's also not being asked to move out of the residence of the leader of the official opposition, even though he's currently not that. I mean, he's not elected right now. Why should he be still living in the house that we provide for him as taxpayers? Huh? I'm kidding. I'm just exaggerating a little bit there too. What difference does it make? He's going to be back in about 6 months, and that'll be fine. But anyway, some people have complained about that. I think because they've run out of other things to complain about. Talkback continues here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I'm just doing my very quick and cursory internet research on the fleur-de-lis, as if I was cramming for one of Mr. Hutter's grade 12 history exams. The Wikipedia page about the fleur-de-lis has absolutely no reference to the controversy that Sestro raised earlier, that the fleur-de-lis was used as a means of branding slaves for a variety of offenses, including if they tried to run away. A little bit further research revealed that Sestro absolutely is true. An article in the USA Today, dating back a decade now to 2015, says that the city of New Orleans has decided that the symbol is one of unity, and it's been embraced by New Orleans. Hence, I guess, why the Saints still have the fleur-de-lis as the symbol on their uniforms. But interesting. You learn something new every day. That's what I love about this show. Let's get back to Talkback with Curtis is next. Good afternoon, Curtis.
Hey, Mike. How are you?
Good. And you?
Good. I just wanted to know why you were such a Grinch this morning talking about Christmas lights that are still up.
Well, I don't know. Isn't it a little bit like, what do you do? Just leave them up all year?
Well, we're getting to May 2-4, which becomes trailer park season. So that's their lights that they like for trailer park season. It goes right into Christmas. So there you go.
Listen, I'm all for reducing the work. Up the ladder, down the ladder, up the ladder, down the ladder. But it just struck me last night. I'm like, why are these lights still hanging on the houses?
Well, they must really like them, or they got them for a good deal.
Okay, fair enough.
On another note.
Yes, sir.
The building around here in this region, to me, doesn't seem like it's going quick enough, or there's too much bureaucracy is all I think.
It's funny you should mention that, Curtis, because I've been doing some research on the new bill that the provincial government is proposing to speed up housing. Because I'm with you. We're moving way too damn slow, like way too damn slow. I don't know that the new bill is the right way to go, but we're going to talk about it on the show tomorrow for sure. And I guess that's all Curtis wanted to say. And I thank you for that, sir. Appreciate you weighing in. Next, we go to Mark on Talkback. Good afternoon, Mark.
Hi, Mike. I heard Cedric call in. He was talking about football names.
Yes, Sestro.
Okay. So he didn't like the change for Washington.
No. He was he was wondering why, if we have changed Washington's team name and Cleveland's team name in baseball, why the New Orleans Saints still have the fleur-de-lis as the symbol on their uniform. Because the fleur-de-lis, fleur-de-lis used to be used as a means of branding slaves when they did things wrong, like tried to run away or something like that.
Gotcha, Mike.
Yeah.
Now,
yes.
I got a new name for your Pittsburgh Steelers Iron Curtain.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. The shower curtain, Mike.
Why you want to be that way, Mark?
I don't like them.
You don't like my Pittsburgh Steelers?
I do not, no.
Oh, okay, fine. Then maybe I don't like you. What do you think of that?
Mike, don't say that.
Okay. Well, why'd you call up to pick on my Pittsburgh Steelers today?
Well, just because. I'm a Miami fan, Mike.
Well, how's that working out for you?
Not very well, Mike.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay, Mark.
Okay, bye.
See ya. Like, honestly, I wondered this when I was driving to work today. Was there a full moon last night? And I wondered if there was, because as I drove to work today, and you know me, I'm a big proponent, and I promise you, like, I walk the talk, I do, or in this case, I drive the talk. My cruise control gets set on the expressway, which is what I use to come to work today, or every day. So I lock it in somewhere between 95 and 100. Limit's 90. Don't get too mad at me. But, and I'm not bothered so much by the vehicles that blow past me, even at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, if you're in that much of a hurry, you go right ahead and be in that much of a hurry. But what caught me this morning is not one or two, but 3 different vehicles. Like, they were just barreling up behind me in the middle lane, and the left lane's wide open. I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Like, why are you screaming up behind me? I'm not moving over to the right lane because there's traffic merging, right? When I got up around Cortland and traffic needs to get on, or you're coming past the flyover and traffic needs to get on, I'm not going to stay in the right lane because they need to merge in. So I'm in the middle lane. The left lane is wide open. If you want to drive that ding-dang fast, use the ding-dang left lane. We call it the hammer lane for a reason. I'm just cruising along here in the middle lane, minding my own business, and, by the way, driving the speed limit. What are you screaming up my rear end in the middle lane for when the left lane is wide open? It's basic common sense on the expressway, which I know. Why should I expect common sense from my fellow drivers on the road? And now Mark randomly calls up to pick on my Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. Hey, there's something going on in Guelph right now that reminded me of a movie I saw as a kid. So I Google searched it, and gosh darn it, I was right. A young Anthony Edwards might have inspired some youth in the city of Guelph. I'll explain how coming up as we continue Talkback on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Well, you know how they say life imitates art, right? The thing is, in this case, the people whose lives are imitating the art were not alive when the art was created, but here we go. The Guelph Police Service is warning the community about dangers associated to a game in which youth are carrying replica firearms in an attempt to, quote, assassinate each other. The popular game, this comes straight from Guelph Police, by the way, the popular game known as Senior Assassin involves high school students competing to eliminate fellow participants by shooting them with water guns or other projectiles within a specified time period. The game is played at all hours of the day and night, not just during school hours. Many of the replica firearms look identical to real ones, causing concern for members of the public and often prompting large police responses. I heard that from Guelph Police today, and all of a sudden, into my mind, I don't know why I retain these things, but I remember a movie from when I was a kid. I was a teenager, and I was fascinated. I thought it was going to be a great movie because I remember this scene where the character is popping out of a garbage can and shooting somebody with a dart gun. And I remember the name of the movie, too. It was called Gotcha. So I Googled it, and here's the plot. Jonathan Moore, played by the way, a young Anthony Edwards back in 1985. Jonathan Moore, an 18-year-old veterinary student at UCLA, is an expert at Gotcha, a popular assassin-like game where students chase each other on campus using paintball guns. 1985, the movie Gotcha. Today, Guelph Police with the warning about what students are doing in the Royal City. Go figure. I miss the 80s. We didn't care about nothing back then. Mary is with us on Talkback. Good afternoon, Mary.
Yes, I'm married lately, but I just thought I should call you.
Okay, well, make it quick because we're running out of time.
Yeah. Hey, I thought Kyle was our friend.
No.
What's happened to him?
He's gone crazy on me.
Is it the life enlistable? Or
it's got to be the listable life.
Anyway, yes, it was a full moon, and you beware.
Okay.
Beware.
Thank you, Mary. I knew it was, because just the way people were driving today, it had to have been. Zoltan, good morning. Or good afternoon.
You were testing me.
I know it was my fault.
The fleur-de-lis has religious connotations, number one. Number two, it is also a battle flag, hence it's fantastic for the Saints.
Okay, Zoltan. Listen, I said the Wikipedia page was like full of all kinds of positive references. You have to dig a little deeper to find its connection to slavery. Daryl, I got 60 seconds. You can have 45 of them.
Mike, it's Farmer Daryl. Yes. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. Hey, can I make a request? Do you taking requests?
For what?
Can you do a segment on your show sometime in the very near future about farm equipment safety?
Yes, I can.
Can you? I'd be happy to fill you in with what's all going on at that point.
All right, Daryl. I appreciate you. Listen, farm vehicles, big machines using the roadways as they're working the fields, don't drive like a jack wagon around them. Not to mention, when you're in the fields and around the equipment, there's a whole other level of safety we need to get into. Daryl, appreciate you and the work that you do. We got to go. Rob Snow, and Now You Know, coming up until 3 this afternoon. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 9, talk about the new cabinet in Ottawa. We'll talk about that new housing bill here in Ontario and lots more. My name is Mike Farwell.